Naked and Afraid Last One Standing Season 2 Episode 2 Review. I want to welcome everyone back to the channel, and for those of you who are new, if you enjoy Naked and Afraid content and you want to hear commentary on the latest episodes, feel free to hit that subscribe button as I try to meet my goal of 3,000 subscribers before the end of this summer. Now, if I had to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate it a solid 8. This episode went even further to prove that this season of Last One Standing is indeed a competition and not a charity case or a show where a group of people gang up on one person. We see this during the food cache challenge for the episode. In this challenge, the teams were tasked with constructing a bird trap with a tripping mechanism. In order to do this, team members had to sift through elephant poo with their hands, collect 20 mopani seeds from the elephant dung, crush those seeds by any means necessary, and finally craft a stable bird trap. If there is one thing that I could say about Season 1 of Last One Standing, it's that I know that they would have never done a challenge like this. In this challenge, most of the team members literally put their hands in the elephant dung to collect the seeds, and some of these folks even put the dung-coated seeds in their mouths in order to crush them, because that was the fastest way to do it. So while the grand prize for the first 3 teams to finish this challenge is ostrich eggs, I don't give a damn about all that. You couldn't pay me enough to consider me doing any parts of the challenge. But this season is indeed a competition, and ostrich eggs in a competition like this is a pretty good score when you haven't had food for a few days. Aside from this challenge, the episode also features some of the teams being successful at hunting, foraging, trading, and one survivalist even tapped out very early on in the episode. I can give you 12 guesses who that was, but you'll only need one. I'll get into the specifics in a little bit, but if I had any complaints about this episode, I would say that there were some parts where the pacing dragged a little bit. But overall, I was okay with the episode, and I thought that it was better than most of the episodes from Season 1. Now I want to talk about the 4 remaining teams in order of who I think are the strongest to the weakest. And I first want to talk about the team of Dan, Trish, and Fernando. This team was clearly firing on all cylinders in the episode. During the food cache challenge, they all worked together in order to collect seeds, chew them, and construct their trap. And because of their teamwork, they finished second in the challenge, which earned them 2 ostrich eggs. So after the team members finished their eggs, they realized that they had a bow and arrow, and nobody on the team was overly experienced in using it. So the team comes up with the idea of proposing a trade with Kai's team. In my opinion, the highlight in this scene was seeing Trish educate her team on the art of making a good deal. She tells them to allow Kai and company to say what they think the bow and arrow is worth to them and negotiate from there, which I think is extremely smart because when you negotiate with a shark, you can't let them smell blood in the water. The advice pays off as the team was able to approach Kai and hand over the bow and arrow for one of Kai's ostrich eggs, and a portion of the food that Kai kills with the bow and arrow. In my opinion, this trade has got to be one of the most lopsided trades that could ever been made in a competition of this magnitude. Think about it. In the last season of Last One Standing, none of the cast members were able to kill any significant source of protein with the bow and arrow, and unless the camping area is filled with game, the chances of killing an animal like an impala or water buffalo are slim to none. However, acquiring the ostrich egg gave Dan, Trish, and Fernando another significant source of protein. But towards the end of the episode, Dan, Trish, and Fernando tried to fish using the fishing asset that Fernando acquired last episode. But they were having no luck due to how murky the water was. Trish then came up with the smart idea of repurposing their cordage into a fishing net, and this decision allows Dan to catch at least 20 fish for the group to eat. By the end of this episode, this team has consumed the most amount of calories and protein, while everybody was working together to pull their own weight. I don't foresee any major issues which could prevent everybody on this team from making it to the next stage of the challenge. However, in the world of Naked and Afraid, anything is possible. Next, I want to talk about the team of Kai, Balint, and Darren. I think that from a survival skill standpoint, this team is the strongest in the challenge and there is not a close second. We see this during this episode's food cache challenge, where the team was the last to collect their seeds, but they were the first to finish the challenge due to Kai's bushcrafting skills. And this earned them the grand prize of 3 ostrich eggs. What I noticed during this challenge was that Balint took the lead in chewing the dung-coated mopani seed, while the other team members did more favorable tasks. And I'm sure that Balint didn't mind doing this, but I hope that he got a bulk of the ostrich eggs for his sacrifice. But this team had some very talented survivalists on it. What made me drop this team down to number 2 was the trade that Kai agreed with Dan's team. Kai forfeited an ostrich egg for a bow and arrow with the hope that she might catch some food with it. In other words, she traded away guaranteed food for a tool that could possibly get her some food down the line. It's a gamble and all, and because Kai made this trade, the only food that her team was able to eat over the course of the several days in this episode was the 2 ostrich eggs. I think that the 2 eggs will fuel the team for the next few days, but keeping that 3rd egg while trying to score some fish from their water source would have been the most ideal move for the team in my opinion. Nevertheless, I don't foresee any major issues which could prevent this team from making it to the next stage of the overall challenge. And next, I gotta talk about the team of Jeff, Patrick, and Kate, or shall I say Jeff and Patrick. Within the first 10 minutes of the episode, Kate fell ill and decided to tap out of the challenge. This was not surprising, considering the history that Kate has of tapping out of these challenges. However, the scumbag move that she made was when she decided to keep her hide and knife when she left the competition. It is an unwritten rule that whenever survivalist taps out of their respective challenge, they leave behind any survival items for their teammates to complete the challenge. And I know that this is a competition, but I wouldn't consider Kate leaving her items behind to be sharing, because the rule states that there wasn't to be any sharing between the teams. Furthermore, the hide that she decided to take with her was Jeff's score, and he shared it with her out of the kindness of his own heart. Had Jeff kept the hide, he could have repurposed it like he did in season 1. Kate claims that she was still playing the game when she took the items with her, but these were her teammates, and they were pretty good to her when she was with them. Because Kate had several other tap-outs during her stint on Naked and Afraid, it is my belief that Kate should be put on a do not cast list by Naked and Afraid, because it seems like for whatever reason, she's simply not fit to be on the show. And there's no shame in admitting this, because not everybody is cut out to be on Naked and Afraid. I do think that Kate's spot on the show was wasted, and I do believe that a Naked and Afraid legend like Gabby should have been cast in her place. But that's neither here nor there. With Kate's absence, Jeff and Patrick feel the impact during the food cache challenge. Kate was the only one on the team with strong bushcrafting skills, and because she tapped, Jeff and Patrick were left to do the best that they could. In hindsight, Jeff and Patrick should have skipped this challenge because there was little benefit in wasting a ton of calories and having to chew on dung-coated seeds while competing against teams that had an extra set of hands and more skilled bushcrafters. And because stealing is now allowed, it is my opinion that Jeff and Patrick should have left the challenge and immediately raided the camps of the other teams, looked for any unintended items, and used them to hunt for food. But this is just my method of thinking. Jeff and Patrick finished the challenge last, and I was a little disappointed in how Jeff threw Patrick under the bus in his confessional while being cool with Patrick while they were face to face. Jeff solely blamed Patrick for losing the challenge, but Jeff should have taken accountability for his role in the loss instead. Jeff then had the bright idea to bring Patrick with him and try to make a trade with Gary for the bow and arrow, with nothing but a promise to offer in return. The trade offer is of course declined, but it was Patrick that took the lead in making some spears and taking Jeff with him to fish for some food. They caught 50 small fish between the two of them, and they ate like kings. It was also Patrick who thought enough to search the area and collect baobab flowers that were edible. Patrick found these flowers in Gary's camp, and he took all the edible ones, which was a blow to Danny, who claims to be a vegetarian and can only thrive on a limited diet in this competition. Now looking at this team, I like what Jeff and Patrick can accomplish when they work together, but if there are any more challenges ahead that test the survivalist skills with bushcrafting or making traps, then I can see this as a barrier for both Jeff and Patrick making it to the next stage of the competition. I also feel that Jeff may put his foot in his mouth and openly voice his displeasure with Patrick if they come in last in another competition. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but as much of a fan favorite as Jeff is, this season of Last One Standing has people who are more hungry and skilled than he is, and the new rules change of the season may benefit them more than it will Jeff. And lastly, I want to talk about the team of Gary, Danny, and Lindsay. In my opinion, this team is on the verge of implosion. During this episode, this team was the first to collect their dung-coated seeds, but Gary took the lead in chewing the dung-coated seeds so they can get crushed for the trap. Danny claimed to be the expert bushcrafter on the team, but she was moving so slow that Jeff and Patrick were able to build their trap, screw up, rebuild it from scratch, and come very close to earning that one ostrich egg that was left in the competition. Because Danny has a very strict diet, she has to rely on fortune for food, but the team was unsuccessful in finding any food for her to eat outside of the one ostrich egg for the episode. Gary was successful in using his bow and arrow to get a squirrel, but Danny can't eat meat. So I think that as the days go on in this challenge, Danny will become physically weaker and she will become a burden to her team. I also think that because she stole from Jeff in episode 1, then Jeff and Patrick will use whatever opportunities they can to stick it to her and her team as the challenge goes on. So all in all, this team consumed the least amount of protein during the episode, and it's only a matter of time before Danny taps out or gets eliminated. Now towards the end of the episode, we learn that there's an elimination challenge coming up. The first part of the challenge tasks the teams with building a primitive axe, and this is a skill that not only relies on a proper knowledge of bushcrafting, but it will likely rely on some degree of strength and stamina if the teams are to use the primitive axe to cut something down as part of a time challenge. In last week's review, I shared my concerns with Gary and how he would be used to do a lot of the heavy lifting for his team. Well, towards the end of this episode, we see Gary concede that he will likely have to do a lot of the heavy lifting for the challenge, and if that's the case, I think that someone on his team will face elimination. But I do wonder how eliminations are going to work in a team setting on this season of Last One Standing. Will a team that comes in last place for the challenge be made to compete against one another to see who goes home? Or will the remaining teams that were not up for elimination get to vote on who they want to see stay and go? We shall see. But this marks the end of the review. If you have any questions or comments related to the review or the episode, feel free to leave them below in the comment section and I'll be sure to reply to everybody. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.